Hi, Boldly Brilliance. Here we are with another Women Inspiring Women Facebook Live. I'm so excited today. I am so happy to present to you Lorraine Faehndrich. She is amazing. I am so happy to have met her and to have her here today to share all the incredible work that she does with women. Lorraine is a women's mind-body mentor and a pelvic pain relief coach. And she specializes in the relief of female pelvic and sexual pain. Now, this is an issue I think that a lot of women are still kind of, hiding under the bed, right? Hiding away about this and not sharing with even their doctors what's going on with them. So I'm really excited to hear what Lorraine has to say today. And through her company, Radiant Life Design, she not only helps women relieve pain, she helps them release anxiety and create radiant health by tapping into the wisdom of their body, emotions, and soul. Hi there, Lorraine. So glad to have you with us.
Hi, Georgia. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, you're very welcome. So I would love for you to share, a little bit more about you, who you are, and what you do.
So I'm a pelvic pain relief coach, and I help women who are struggling with pelvic pain, and who most of them, there's like millions of women who are having pain during intercourse that may progress to pain all the time. For a lot of them, it's very debilitating, and they're not finding answers from the medical system. And so I help them really with the emotional and mental components of pain, because there's so much in like pain research now even, but just there's so many ways that how we process emotions affects our nervous system, affects our hormones, affects the level of tension in our muscles, and all these things have a really big impact on the pelvis in particular, but all kinds of chronic pain that the medical approach isn't working for.
Oh, absolutely. And so much has happened in the mind-body field in the last decades. And, tell us exactly what you do and how you do it. If someone came to you with pelvic pain and she's already been, had her physical and has seen a doctor and has been told, I can't find anything, everything seems to be okay. Maybe you should see a psychiatrist. A lot of times that's what they say. So how do you begin?
Right. So I just want to clarify, because you said see a psychiatrist, not that that's a bad thing to do, but like this doesn't mean that the pain is in your head. So I actually I suffered with pelvic pain about 8 years ago now, and I was never diagnosed. So interestingly, I didn't actually know what I had until I started working with women who had pelvic pain and started looking up some of the diagnosis terms and realized, oh my gosh, that's what I had. But so the way I work with women is, I do coaching online. I have a coaching program, and then I also have an online self-guided program that I do run as a group about once a year. And I really, first, it has a lot of education about the connection between the brain and pain and emotions and pain and the nervous system. So there's like an education piece of understanding that not all pain is caused by something that's wrong physically. Like all pain is created in the brain, and the level of what's going on in your body has an impact on that, but a lot of other things have an impact on that too. So education first. And then, if women didn't have, anxiety before they were in pain, or worry and patterns of stress like that, then often from any kind of chronic pain can really cause that. So I help with give them strategies to work with their thoughts, start to welcome their emotions more. As women in this patriarchal culture, we've been really taught to suppress a lot about ourselves. We're not supposed to be too emotional. There's a lot of shame around sexuality. So that really leads a lot of women to separate from their body, not be very connected with it, have patterns of suppressing their emotions that they're not actually aware that they're having. I don't want to go on too long, but so basically we look at those details, right? Like we look at how can we help you get back into your body and be present with sensations in your body. And the end goal is start trusting yourself, and trusting your body's wisdom, which, as you probably know, as women, like we have so much wisdom available in our bodies and from our emotions, and that all really can help with a business too. But I take them through. Go ahead.
I just think that what you're saying is so true. That women are disconnected from their bodies, and that by sort of the education about that and the sharing of the feelings and doing movement even and lots of things. I mean, you see that like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, those kinds of things tend to get us more in our bodies, and that really seems to help with people. I don't know if you found that true too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And then I think go ahead.
I was going to say, when it comes to pain, I think a missing piece that I'm working with women on is like yoga and meditation are fantastic, and they're to help be in the body. And there are very specific ways that our brain suppresses emotional energy in our body that are unconscious, that create tension and trigger pain signals. And so once you're in your body, learning how to be present with that emotional energy and how to feel emotions in ways that are positive and don't lead to pain. So,
yeah. So now, is this true for, I know you specialize in pelvic pain, but is it true for any kind of pain, like in the body?
Yes. I mean, and I would say anything that's chronic, ongoing, that you have done all the usual stuff. I like to say, like, we have an injury, it should heal. If after months there's still pain, there's very likely some sort of mind-body component, because our bodies are made to heal, like they're made. And so I've had women in my programs who have chronic back pain, fibromyalgia, even things like chronic fatigue, migraines, headaches. So yeah. And women with pelvic pain often have more than one of those things going on.
Interesting. And so I know Lyme disease is also a big thing right now with people having chronic pain and nothing to help them with that. And so that's good to know. So it's not just something that's specifically related to the pelvic area, though that is, shows up and is important and is something that you're very specific with. But you could actually work with people who have like lower back pain or, lupus,
really,
maybe,
yes,
or chronic fatigue syndrome, or any of those things. What your program would help them. So that's really good to know. Yeah, that's great. I think what you were saying earlier too is so true about, there's so much shame still on sexuality, and that even women with, I know myself, I was a licensed marriage and family therapist and a psychologist, and I had counseling practices, and I worked with the addicted and recovering women, and I found a lot of them had pelvic pain. And I think that the stress of the drugs on their body and the stresses that led to the drugs on their body probably contributed to that pelvic pain, because it usually cleared itself up. Though again, with the advent of HIV and AIDS and issues that kind of got in there. That was sort of the last thing we got to, about, how to get the body into a way so that the body could heal itself, right? Getting through those emotions and the stress and the addiction, and getting through all that before they could even begin to address what the real issues were. So I think that's really important to know.
Absolutely.
I even, have an example myself. My father, who was 93, passed away on March 1st, and I immediately got lower back pain right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
have chronic lower back pain. I mean, it comes and goes. It can go for years. But if some stressor happens in my life, it immediately comes back. And it's from an old gymnastics injury from, my teens and early 20s. And I was like, I had to spend time with myself, processing those feelings of grief and, journaling and just doing things to just, not only I went to physical therapy and I was doing that, but I also had to do the emotional and the psychological piece before I could let go of that lower back pain. And I'm thinking that's sort of what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like part of the process is learning how to do exactly what you did, which is instead of not that you shouldn't go to a doctor or use the medical options or physical therapy or whatever is available to you, but also recognizing that these things are impacted by what's going on emotionally and looking at that. Because when you don't look at that and then starting to relate to your body more as like a guide and a way that I say your soul communicates with you, really. Like, hey, look here, this needs a little attention. And that can happen with pelvic pain a lot, related with relationships, any kind of stress in your life. But the issues around like sexuality and relationships do seem to have more of an impact. But also, I think the connection between addiction and pelvic pain is very interesting, because one of the things I teach is that we have so pain, there's this amazing doctor, Dr. John Sarno. I don't know if you've heard of him. There's actually a movie out right now called All the Rage that's about his life. He worked at, I'm forgetting the name of the hospital, but in New York City, he was an orthopedic surgeon. He specialized in back pain. And like in the 60s, he came to the conclusion that the pain was emotional, not physical. And so he started taking his patient, like he started taking his patients off all physical treatments, and teaching them how the brain was creating the pain. So the mechanism that he identified was that when there's emotional things going on in our life that our brain thinks is threatening. So it's not a conscious process at all. Like, when your father passed away, a lot of emotion comes up in a culture that's conditioned us that emotions aren't safe, or, we get in trouble as kids for, not being happy or whatever. There's varying degrees. Our brain automatically suppresses the emotion. And one way that it can do that, that's very successful to distract and suppress emotions, is with pain of any kind. So that's like a huge contribution from him. But the connection with addiction, I think, being addicted to something is also very often a result of not being able to feel and process emotions. So it's another strategy to use to distract yourself from your emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's self-medication, right? The drug is self-medicating the psychological pain, which is producing the physical pain, or vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, sometimes there is the onset of, like, you're in a car accident, right? There is physical pain, but that brings up all of the emotional pain, I think. And so it's not an either or. I think it's looking at the whole picture. And I love the way you express it, that it's your soul that's trying to connect with you, right? And has to go through all these different letting go of the pains to be able to do that. We can't hear what we truly want and be who we really want if we're, in pain, physically or emotionally, or, so yeah, I can see that. And
I'd love to add to that for 1 second, though, because so it's like the soul, if you think of it, right, we're souls, we manifest, we have these bodies, we come here. And then a lot of women, especially men too, I specialize in working with women, end up feeling so disconnected from themselves and out of touch with like their intuition, and have trouble making decisions and all this kind of things. What should I do, this or that? And all that comes from being disconnected from that bigger soul part of us that does actually communicate with us through sensations in our body. So it's such an empowering process to learn how to come back into your body and be comfortable with discomfort and sensations in your body, because not only does that help relieve pain, but it gives you access to this inner wisdom and inner knowing about how to stay on your soul's path. It's very exciting. Yeah.
That is very exciting. And as I said, beautifully said, beautifully said. I just love that. It's soul communication. Our souls communicate with sensation, through sensation. And, there are some physical modalities out there like Tai Chi and Nia and my own program, Zengevity, where it is all about getting in touch with your body and learning your body and sensations and moving from that center core, that soul fire, really. I mean, that's what, Nia, Zengevity, Tai Chi, to mention 3 different modalities, that is their central focus, is to learn that, about your body, to get connected with your body in a way that your body, doesn't lie.
I say that all the time. Exactly.
Yeah, our bodies don't lie. They tell us the truth about what's going on with us. Our brains, we would like to think everything's just fine and we can work 14-hour days, 7 days a week. And, and then we realize, oh my gosh, I feel terrible physically and emotionally and mentally. And, why is that? Well, because there's no self-care and there's no connection with the soul. And those are those things that happen so easily in this society, I think, for women and men. And, so I think the work that you're doing is just incredible, just really brilliant. I know you have a program that you can offer people. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So what you're putting up there right now is Say Goodbye to Pelvic Pain, which is it's a free class that I'm actually giving next week. That gives a more, I take you through, and it's geared towards pelvic pain, obviously, Say Goodbye to Pelvic Pain, but it's, again, any kind of mind-body issue, any kind of chronic pain. There's lots of useful information in this free call. And I will guide you through a process to help you get a more experience in your body of how all this is connected. And then also some tools to start working with. And then I offer a 10-session program. It's online. It's the live program is going to be beginning in May 1st. And so it'll be all women. It's a group of women. I take them through this 10-step process over the course of 3 months to, learn the skills they need to really use this mind-body idea in a very practical way so that they can find their health again, find their inner wisdom, reclaim all the stuff you were just talking about. You're speaking my language, we're so trained into listening to our minds and trying and struggling, putting so much effort into things. And it's a more masculine way of doing things. And, the body and the intuition and all that is so valuable in every area of our life. The course focuses on health, but once you learn the process, it's really to start living from your body and your soul, changes a lot of things in your life.
It certainly does. And and this is for women of all ages, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So pelvic pain in particular, it's definitely all ages. Some women have had it forever, since they became sexually active or sooner. It can come up in your 20s. Some women start experiencing it more after they have a child, go through a birth. Because a lot of times mind-body things can start with a physical cause, there's an injury or there's something else going on that kind of instigates this pain syndrome. And then all the emotional stuff just kind of keeps feeding it and it becomes this big distraction. And then also perimenopause, menopause, as hormone levels start changing, that can be a trigger that can also start pelvic pain.
That's very interesting, that the pelvic pain can develop at any age, right? And due to many different reasons. I know as women get older, they tend to get vaginal dryness, which leads to pelvic pain. Any suggestions for our community on that?
Well, I mean, the biggest suggestion is learn more about the connection between your emotions and your body. Because if, like hormonal changes happen, and I actually just saw my gynecologist. I just had a new gynecologist, and she was so amazing because I was asking her for myself. Like, I haven't really had any symptoms, but I've had like some mild headaches more than I normally have. So I was asking her, like, could this be related to hormone changes, and what can I do about it? And she said the best thing to do about it is all the stuff you would normally do to take care of yourself. Sleep well, eat well, moderate exercise, and because taking good care of yourself balances your hormones at least as much as they can be, and so if you're doing all those things and adding in really learning how to take good care of yourself, tune into your body, be present with sensations in your body, learn how to work with stressful thinking so that you're not worrying a lot and putting a ton of pressure on yourself. Those things have a very direct effect on your nervous system and hormone balance. Like if you're worrying and putting pressure on yourself and working really hard and you're triggering that sympathetic fight flight nervous system response, that creates adrenaline and cortisol, and those are hormones. That impacts all the hormones being released in your body on a regular basis. So, levels of estrogen and everything. So
it's really important to keep balance, right? Just as
balance.
It's really about balance, balancing the hormones, balancing, everything that goes on in your body, balancing your emotions. So it really is about balance.
Balance. And also, I think, speaking of menopause in particular, it can be an emotional, like it can kind of bring things up that maybe you've gone through emotionally speaking, you've gone through your whole life, having a family, having work, doing what you're doing, and then your body starts going through this change process that can be emotional. And so anytime you're going through something that's more emotional, it makes you susceptible to like mind-body pain syndromes because they get triggered as a way to suppress or avoid that emotion.
Right.
Unconscious, of course.
Any one thing specifically that you would encourage people to do to try to get through that connection of the emotions and feeling the emotions, and what would you suggest? What's one thing? I know that you've got a 10-part course in this.
All right.
If there was one thing you could tell the audience, what they should
I'm going to go a little outside the box of what I've been talking about and say focusing on pleasure, focusing on what feels good to you. Like, there's all kinds of ways to change all those other stressful patterns, but actually doing things that are fun and feel good to you has a tremendous impact on your health. Tremendous. Wonderful. More than food or anything else, I think, in my
Wow. So. That's a surprise. That's great. Yeah, it's pleasure. Finding that pleasure in your body, finding that pleasure in your work, finding pleasure in your life, finding those things. I think, we're the United States, we're just a society of work, right? And the stress of that, I think, really, you don't find that in some of the European countries. They take time, they take 3 or 4 hours for dinner because they're finding pleasure in every moment, right? And we're shoveling the food down at McDonald's and running to the next soccer game or something, right? So I think we just don't take that time for the pleasure in life. So that's awesome advice. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Glad you like that.
We're kind of coming down to the last few minutes. Boy, this time has flown by, but we, keep this at our lunch bunch hour here of a half hour. So tell us, any last words that you want to share with the audience?
Well, I guess since I know that this audience, there's a lot of women entrepreneurs. So I would say connected with the pleasure thing that's connecting to your body and learning how to integrate pleasure and follow your joy and what feels good to you is actually it's how I built my business. It's how I ended up doing this work that I'm doing. Like, it makes your life feel fun and magical, and you get to connect with really cool people. Like, like things just happen and come in, as opposed to that making things happen, working hard, being super self-critical, putting a lot of pressure on yourself. It like makes your body contract, and that causes health problems. And makes it harder to succeed in your business, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in finding that expansiveness, in our bodies and our lives, I think it's true. When we open up to that experience and we open up to that pleasure, we find that fun in our lives. It makes life totally different, right? Totally different.
It's like that Joseph Campbell quote, follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls, right?
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Yes. All right, everybody, say goodbye to pelvicpain.com. Go there now, right now, and sign up for the webinar. This is a free program for you to hear Lorraine tell you more about these issues. And I can't emphasize enough, this is great, great stuff. There's not a lot of people out there doing this. I was delighted to meet Lorraine and find her to be able to share her and her wonderful work with you. So go there now. And then also go to her website. So her website is radiantlifedesign.com. It's going across there at the screen, but I'm going to put down in the comments there, I'm going to have Lorraine's free class and also her website in the comments section. So very easy. Go click on those and sign up now. We're going to I'm going to be there. So I invite all of you to be there too. All right. This has been wonderful, Lorraine. Thank you so much. The time flew by so fast. I'm just like, oh my God, we've been on for 35 minutes already. And it's been great. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Georgia. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really fun to talk with you.
All right. All right, everybody. We'll see you next Friday for the Facebook Live, Women Inspiring Women. Bye now.
Bye.